In the meantime, let's speak to Chloe Dobbs, who's a political commentator. Just before I do, Chloe, there is a tweet from Kate McCann, late of this station, now a presenter on Times Radio, who says, which is our sister station, who says the Chancellor has not resigned. A spokesman for Rachel Reeves said of her upset, it's a personal matter, which, as you would expect, we're not going to get into. The Chancellor will be working out of Downing Street this afternoon. So Rachel Reeves has not resigned. The fact we're even talking about this, the fact she was tearful at Prime Minister's questions may well be a personal matter, and whatever it is, we of course wish her well. But clearly the strain on the government more generally is showing. Rachel Reeves is going nowhere. This is the Press Association. The Chancellor retains the Prime Minister's full backing. That is Sir Keir Starmer's press secretary has said that we will see. Once you have the full backing, yes, they have full confidence. Often the case that isn't the case, and often people are gone pretty quickly. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. It is going to be fascinating. Let's speak to Chloe Dobbs, political commentator. Chloe, what do you make of an absolutely chaotic 24 hours for the government? In fact, a chaotic week for the government.
I mean, this is just so embarrassing. These are not the kind of scenes that you would expect for a government that's got 480 MPs. You would expect this kind of thing to be happening for a government that's got either a very slim majority or they're in a coalition, they're trying to please everyone. The fact that they are struggling to get a bill across the line, and we're not talking huge, crazy, major reforms. We're talking about a bill that was trying to save 5 billion quid out of a welfare budget that is expected to go up to something like 100 billion. Some figures are saying, others saying 75 billion, but whatever it is, it's very, very high. If they can't even do something this modest, how on earth is the Labour Party going to get any kind of difficult, controversial legislation in any area across the line in future? And as you've just been talking about, we've now had Rachel Reeves crying on the front benches. We don't know exactly why that was. It could have been, and it sounds like from that statement, it may have just been something completely separate, a personal matter. But you had just before that, you had Kemi Badenoch looking at her and telling her, you know, she looks absolutely miserable, Rachel Reeves. And Rachel Reeves is probably, regardless of personal matters, extremely frustrated right now because she is probably terrified of having to bear the burden of putting up taxes in the autumn budget, breaking more and more Labour promises, having to put up potentially income tax as well. That would mean that her reputation is already bad enough as it is, but it would be absolutely toast after that. And she's thinking, I've tried to just save 5 billion quid and I can't even do that with a majority of 480 MPs. So I think there's very much this feeling of hopelessness. And for this to come in the week when Labour are trying to spin things to make it look like they've had a good first year in government because we're coming up to that first anniversary in a couple of days, it's just not a good look.
Yeah, Chloe, I think a lot of that makes sense. I just want to check as well or have a look back, I suppose, at what Keir Starmer said this day last week. It's been an extraordinary week. This was when he was at NATO at the summit, and he was asked about the domestic political issues in regard to welfare reform. He called them noises off. This is what Keir Starmer said.
So I'm comfortable with reading the room and delivering the change the country needs. We've got a strong Labour government with a huge majority to deliver on our manifesto commitments, and that's the work that we did over many years to win the election. Now we start the work over many years to change the country. Having changed the party, we now change the country. And is it tough going? Are there plenty of people and noises off? Yes, of course. There always are, there always have been, there always will be. But the important thing is to focus on the change that we want to bring about.
He talked about his huge majority there, a working majority of 165. He said, I'm comfortable with reading the room. That was last Wednesday. Very, very different a week on, Chloe.
Yeah, that clip has aged like milk, I think it's fair to say. There he was off at another summit abroad. I mean, NATO obviously quite an important thing to go to, but a lot of people have taken note of the fact that generally over the past year, it seems like Keir Starmer has been avoiding the chaos when it comes to domestic political issues by constantly being abroad, where he feels like he has a much warmer reception. And he's tried to boast about how, you know, at least if things aren't going well when it comes to domestic policy, he's got his chest puffed up when it comes to the foreign stage. He was all happy with how things went with Donald Trump when he gave him that letter to the king. And then with the whole, you know, as well as this benefits saga, we had you know, just very recently what happened with Iran, where he was saying in an interview to Beth Rigby from Sky News that he doesn't think that Trump will launch a strike on Iran. And then I think Trump was already putting the planes up in the air as he was saying that, pretty much showing that he was just completely irrelevant, left out of the picture. And now it looks like both domestically and on foreign policy that he can't read the room.
Well, exactly. And I just want to give a sense of how bad things got. This is a Labour backbencher, okay, on the left of the party, former miner Ian Lavery, who has a constituency in the northeast. But this is Ian Lavery. This is how desperate and how chaotic things got. The tensions were rising to such a degree last night in the House of Commons. This is what Ian Lavery said.
Yes, I've never once seen a massive commitment given in a bill like my honourable friend, right honourable friend, the Minister gave in an intervention in a contribution. This is crazy, man. This is outrageous, man. This bill isn't fit for purpose. If you have a look, it's 16 pages. I can ask you, right honourable gentlemen, to rip the ones out now. That's changed. There would only be 2 pages left. Withdraw the bill. Discuss the contents of the... We're only that far, you know, Madam Deputy Speaker. We're only that far with the commitments that have been given by the front bench on some sort of satisfactory bill which everybody could get behind. I think if we had another hour or 2, we could have voted on something which we all would have agreed with, instead of this hodgepodge of a bill which means nothing to nobody.
So there we are. That is Ian Lavery. That's someone who's meant to be supporting the government. That is a Labour MP, Chloe. And it shows to the extent to which the hackles were raised. 49 Labour MPs voting against it, the biggest rebellion since the government came to power. There won't be too much cake and champagne on Friday for Labour's 1-year anniversary, will there?
No, I don't think so. If anything, we'll maybe be having some reshuffles and more arguments. I think they're all just hoping to make it to the summer recess alive, and then they can all have a break and chill out a little bit. I mean, he really just summed up how frustrated and angry people are about this bill. On the one hand, this seems like something that is quite modest, only trying to save 5 billion quid. But on the other hand, I mean, just it wasn't really well thought through at all. This wasn't a genuine attempt, as Rachel Reeves will make it out when she speaks at the dispatch box, to really reform the welfare system, get people back into work, give them a hand up rather than a handout. All it was, let's be clear, is she went to the Department for Work and Pension, says, oh, the spreadsheet says I need to save an extra 5 billion quid. What can you do to find me 5 billion? And that is what they gave her. She didn't do what Kemi Badenoch is now suggesting, which I think is the right thing, which is to really go after the mental health benefits. You've got all these people with mild depression, mild autism, ADHD, etc., who probably would be better off working, and if with a little bit of support could get back into work. If you actually went for proper reform, gave people the appropriate support that they needed, you could really reform the welfare system. But this really was just a very quick fix to try and save 5 billion. And so you can see why some of the Labour rebels will see this, even if to me I think, come on, this is just a difference of 5 billion. This isn't going to change things that much. You can see why they see it as Rachel Reeves is just using the disabled to try and save the few quid that she needs. It didn't come across as she did this because she genuinely cared about helping people get out of the welfare system.
Many, including the Labour Party, have taken it. Lots more to discuss.